Hello everyone and welcome to episode 1 of Mentally Challenged, the series where you send challenges and they test me mentally. The idea for this series actually came from this Russian man in my comments section who basically gave me a challenge when he posted it on the last episode of my Fist Only series, and I figured I might be able to make it into a series. So this is actually the first challenge, as you saw in the tweet. Now, because I think everyone knows at this point, the easiest way to complete this challenge of doing all Vigilante levels without using a weapon, technically, would just be to get the tank, turn Vigilante on, and just go and run over people. So I am going to do that because, you know, in the nature of the series, it's the easiest way to do it. But I'm also going to show you a way, because I think the tank is kind of cheating. I'm going to show you a way to do it without the tank too. But first off, let's get the tank. If any of you were wondering how to get a tank legitimately without having to, like, you know, deal with like army base shit or collecting packages, you can actually get one during Sir Yes Sir. Once you get the tank, you may think, how are you going to be able to store it in a garage? Because as you can see, once you put it in, it's just going to be chilling there. And it's going to blow up if you let the timer get to the top. So how are you going to keep it in the garage? Well, if you'll see in a second.
Prepare to die, communist scum.
As you can see, the mission fails, but the corpse of the tank is still there. So when you just close the door and reopen it, it will turn that corpse into a brand new tank that you can use. Yeah, so as you can see, doing with the tank and just running people over really doesn't possess much charge. Oh, shit. Yeah, so if you don't get really unlucky like that and end up getting busted, then the rest of it is pretty simple. But yeah, so that's the first challenge technically done with a tank, but as I say, that's kind of boring, so I'll show you how to do it without. So unfortunately, doing this challenge without the tank isn't as difficult as it is just boring. Because the way I kind of figured out to do it safely, I guess, was to use the enforcer and just smack into people and just, you know, repair it when I needed to. So it's very slow. It's definitely possible within the time limit because it gives you minutes upon minutes to do it. You can flip people if you're lucky, but most of it is just shunting people until they get out of the car, and then once they exit, you can just run them over. So yeah, nothing too boring, just pulling up to the last guy. I cut the rest out to save you, you know, hours of boring shit. Just gotta back up and run over this last guy, oh, for fuck's sake. I really don't understand why the cops get so mad at you when you do this shit in this game. Like, it's the middle of America. It's not like cops are gonna do anything but murder, so I'm just doing them a favor and saving them some time. Easy clap. So, these next two challenges are actually from anybody per se. They were just ones that we kind of came up with while we were dicking around and recording this. And this one is to complete RC Raider Picker, but with a bit of an extra twist to it. Yeah, so as I was saying, I only had the one actual user-submitted challenge, because obviously I don't have a comment section to reply to, since it's the first episode of this series. But of course, at the end of this video, when you see it, be sure to, if you have any cool challenges, be sure to let me know. We can also mod things around, thanks to the fact that I have some very nice code monkeys at my disposal, to like mod in challenges like this, like do this mission but with this hard restriction. So yeah, be sure to let me know if you think of anything cool, because I'm not very creative, so you guys, you know, you guys figure it out and I'll just be the guy that, you know, does them. That's how this series is going to work. I hope you're all okay with that. If you're wondering where the challenge of this comes, essentially, if you don't know much about this mission, you basically just have to use a small RC helicopter to collect pickups around the airport. But obviously the Hunter is way bigger. So ones like these can possess a challenge, although I kind of figured out a strat that you just have to go up directly above it and just slam yourself down and hopefully don't take that much damage. But the real challenge, and unfortunately where I failed this challenge, is this one coming up here. So this checkpoint requires you to fly under the plane inside the hangar. And as you can imagine, the helicopter blades, as soon as you hit them, or hit them on anything, you just get bounced right back. So it's seemingly impossible to do. And also, if you may think, why don't you go out of bounds and go underneath the map? If you do that, this happens. I also tried backing the tail into it, as the the rotors aren't as big there, and also just like smacking into it at really high speeds, or as high speed as I can get within a small radius of the airport, and hoping I just kind of get lucky and bounce into it one time, but I wasn't able to. So if you guys can think of any potential ways to do this, we can always look at this again in episode 2 or maybe another episode, and revisit it and see if we can complete it with help from you guys. So yeah, if you have any ideas for that, let me know, but for this seems to be a no-go. So the third and final challenge for today's episode is to complete Dirt Ring, but with yet another twist, because these are both kind of came up with at the same time. I don't know if you can tell. So I won't spoil it. It's really crazy. Wow, that's not a Sanchez. It's a Faggio. You can't possibly complete Dirt Ring with this. Well, sir, or madam, let's find out if you're correct or not. So the two main challenges for this was the fact that the Faggio doesn't kind of like rebound off surfaces as easily because of how low the wheels are compared to the Sanchez. So as you can see here, getting up this, which is usually really easy with the Sanchez, actually requires like a bit of thought to it. Thankfully, on the corner, I figure out eventually like the right side when you're approaching it is quite a lot lower, but it also means you have to then readjust yourself once you get up onto the plank, and you have to do that twice, because there's another blip that you can't quite see, but it's at the top on the other side, and the only way you can get to it is by, carrying across all the way. So it's actually a lot harder than it looks, the readjusting part, once you get on. Doing it twice in a row is actually quite tricky. A fun bit of trivia about this game that I thought it was very common to know about, but the friends that I was talking to while I was doing this didn't apparently know about this, is that for some reason in this game, if you face north, it is very difficult to wheelie compared to every other direction. As you can see there, I'm kind of showcasing it, and that just reminded me. It's not impossible to wheelie by any means, as you can see, but it just becomes way harder, and you need to go you need to do it a lot better to get the same result, compared to if you just face south and hold down the button a tiny bit. So the final challenging one is the one that I left for last after I figured out how hard it was, is this jump right here. Just going to it normally like you would with a Sanchez, from the back, you don't get nearly enough speed to make it, so you have to kind of build up a lot of speed from an angle, but then obviously when you turn, you lose speed, and it's awkward. I did end up learning that leaning forward is better rather than leaning backwards to try and get more height. Because Powdinet let me know that what actually triggers the checkpoints to get marked as you got them is when your character hitbox gets them. Now whether leaning forward actually increases your hitbox and makes it taller, I don't know, but I seem to have a lot more success regardless. There are actually a few points where I went too far left, ended up smacking into the ring next to it, and almost bounced and got the checkpoint. That would have looked really sick for the video, but unfortunately I just ended up getting it normally, quote unquote, eventually, just by getting a really good angle on the turn. So once I completed that, we thought of an extra bonus challenge, which was to complete Dirt Ring with a car. We picked the Blister because it's got decent speed and it's quite small, so we thought it would be the easiest. And this actually wasn't as difficult as I thought it was going to be. A lot of the checkpoints are simple by just kind of throwing yourself at them. You don't need to ride across or anything. But unfortunately, there's one small problem. For some odd reason, when you collect exactly this checkpoint, the game crashes. I did it again to make sure that it wasn't to do with the number or anything. So I just redid it and went right back in and just did this one first, and it still crashes the game. Our code monkeys don't know why it crashes. Or at least Powdinet doesn't. When I say our code monkeys, it's all just Powdinet. Maybe I should speak to more of them, maybe they'll watch this video and give me a reason. But for some reason, this specific checkpoint, when you do it in a car, crashes the game. There is a check in the game, if you guys don't know. I didn't know this either until I started doing this challenge. That's what I love about these challenges, is they let you know cool stuff about the game. Is every single time you pick up a checkpoint, there's actually a check to make sure that you're on a Sanchez. Now, of course, Powdinet isn't silly, and he removed it, otherwise the Faggio wouldn't work. But maybe there's an extra check that Powdinet doesn't know about. Maybe there's something else. But for some reason, yeah, like the other checkpoints work. But collecting this one and maybe the other one, because obviously I didn't get a chance to collect that without this one, crashed the game for some unknown reason. The address is very similar to the player not found botch, which can happen in runs randomly. Nobody really knows why it happens, but it's consistent here for some reason. So unfortunately, the little boneless challenge didn't, go to plan, but it's whatever. So that about wraps up our first mentally challenged episode. Hopefully I'll be able to keep this going into a series, as long as you guys keep giving me, or even, tweeting me, whatever, replying to comments, some cool little challenges. It doesn't have to necessarily be for Vice City, as I said in the tweet. It can be any GTA game. Obviously Vice City is my kind of one where I have a lot of knowledge about, so I'll know different cool ways to do stuff. But if you think of a cool one that you think I might like in another GTA game, or, maybe even fucking a clone, I don't know, maybe Bully or True Crime or some shit, maybe we'll look into those. But yeah, be sure to let me know if you have any, feedback or, of course, challenges. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you later. I'm leaving for ESA tomorrow, so, if you don't know much about ESA, you should definitely check it out. Twitch.tv/ESA Marathon. I'm going to be racing Casey through there, and I'm going to win. So I hope you'll tune in for that. And yeah, bye.